Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Stateside Weekly Market Report with Bryant and Tim. Bryant, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Tim. How about you?
I'm good, man. Thanks for asking.
How's that kitchen coming along?
It's done, dude. It is done. Everyone wants to know. It took about, I don't know, 6-ish years, but it's wonderful. It's all
Worth
done,
every
and we took
penny.
the wall down, and there's more room, and the flow is lovely. The feng shui, it's really good. So
Very
we're excited
nice.
about it.
Well, anyways,
Um,
on that note, let's talk about pre-inspections.
This is not on that note, but sure, good segue. Welcome to the fourth week of our month as we try to get organized. We're going to talk about tips and hacks in the real estate industry. Today, we have decided to talk about the infamous pre-inspection, which, as far as I know, we're going to have to ask older realtors than we are. Didn't used to be a thing. It is now very much a thing in this market since COVID, with
This market, right?
50 people waiting in line for open houses, et cetera, et cetera. We'll talk details about it, but the way it kind of works and the purpose behind it is, as if we are your buyer's agent, one of our jobs is to try to get you as many exit ramps between going under contract and closing as we can. As a listing agent, we are trying to get the buyer's agent to have as few exit ramps as possible so they stay in the contract. So if we are your buyer's agent and you're looking to purchase a house, we're going to try to get you as many feasible contingencies, exit ramps as possible. But in order to be attractive, it's a fine balance, and this is where the art comes in. In order to be attractive in a multiple offer situation, as buyer's agents, we also want to make sure you have at least one way to get out, but we want to make it attractive enough to the seller by eliminating as many contingencies as possible to get accepted. So that's where the balance comes in. Anyways, all that is a long way to saying one way to eliminate the inspection contingency, which is one of the major ones, is to do what we call a pre-inspection. And this is something that was, as far as I know, kind of just invented in the past few years. But you can go to any inspector that you usually go to, have them go out to a house prior to actually putting in an offer, paying less than you usually would. And Brian, you might know the money better than I do, but paying anywhere from $300 to $400 versus $600 or $700 for a pre-inspection. That way, you get the full pre-inspection report. You can look it over, see how it looks, and then write the offer, knowing the information ahead of time, and not have an inspection contingency. Thereby, purpose of that being more attractive to the seller, more competitive of an offer when there's multiple offers on the table. So 30,000 foot view, that's kind of the point of it, is to be able to make an offer with at least one less contingency to make it more attractive to the seller and hopefully get accepted. Um, that being said, Brian, you've done a million of them in Northern Virginia because the market is off the chain. And I mean, have you had any offers accepted because of pre-inspection specifically,
I yeah, I
or
would
has it
say
helped?
I
Okay.
would I would say that if we weren't doing pre-inspections for a few of my clients over the last 6 months, yeah, my lights are still doing that. They were doing that last week too. Just ignore them. Uh,
I can't ignore them.
they it was almost critical in this environment to be doing pre-inspections. And when Tim talked a little bit about the pre-inspection costs and stuff. So when you get an inspection, there's at least two different levels you're going to get. You're going to get the full inspection with the report at the end of it, and something like tangible in hand. You're going to have that so you can go look back at what they found, so you can make repairs.
Right.
One of the inspections that is a little bit cheaper, like to what Tim was alluding to, was the what we call the walk and talk. So we basically show up at the inspector at the property. If you're not around, if you're overseas, then I'll be showing up. Well, I'll show up either way, but I'll be there kind of on your behalf, and I will follow the inspector to the house, and I'll take photos and I'll take notes, everything that he talks about. We just basically walk through the house from the basement all the way up to the roof, and he just points at things that stick out in his eyes. He'll bring his same tools. They'll bring their little thermal reader, and they'll look at the electric box. So basically, do everything, the home inspection, they'll get the report besides doing the report. But
Right.
we take such diligent notes that you're basically getting the full report for a cheaper price, because we're sitting there taking photos of everything. We just don't have an official document at the end of it, with all the documented in the U.S. the home inspectors language. So
Yeah.
all that said, in this market, pre-inspections are critical. Not in every sale, but in most sales. And if it's a house that is going to need some work and you're thinking, hey, I just want to waive I just want to, we don't, I don't just want to waive everything. I want to waive the home inspection. I want to waive, I don't, it's hard to advise that when we have the ability to do a pre-inspection. I mean, it's going to cost you $500 or so roughly, that if you don't get the house, you're not going to get back. Well, even if you get the house, you're not going to get back, but you're not going to get anything out of it. You're just going to be out
Right.
$500.
Right.
But at least that the structural integrity of that house, because that's usually what we're looking for in a home inspection in this market. We're
Deal
not
breakers.
we're not going to be getting, if there's a broken windowsill, we're not going to be getting credit for that in this market, most
Right.
likely.
Yeah.
But we're just looking to make sure the house isn't going to fall over, cracks
Basically.
in the foundation, anything like that. And at least know that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's peace of mind. Like it's a good hack. I mean, it's a good way to be able to get an inspection more or less, um, without having to put that contingency in. So it's a good way to get the best of both worlds. Not just blindly go in and say waive all inspections, waive appraisal, waive fine, waive all this. I want the house. Yes, sometimes you do have to do that, but if you can get a pre-inspection prior to actually making an offer, at least you have that report or walk and talk notes to kind of say, okay, I feel comfortable with this. There are going to be some things I have to fix, but it's not that big of a deal. I'm willing to waive the inspection contingency.
Yep. And
Um,
I've had clients do a home inspection on a house that we basically had an offer written up, and we did the pre-inspection, and they decided we're not going to write on that property. We're just going to eat the $500 and we're going to walk away because they didn't like the results of the home inspection, period. There's just too many little things that you wouldn't have known if if we asked for an inspection on the offer we are going to submit, we most likely wouldn't even be competitive, so it wouldn't matter.
correct.
And two, if we didn't do a pre-inspection, they'd be going into a house with a lot of things that they didn't know about. And people do that, and there's a lot of buyer remorse. Will do anything to get in the house, and they get into the house and they're like, what the hell did we do? Like, why
Right.
now we have this roof that is at the end of its life. It's going to be $10,000 to put a new roof on it. We don't have that. We just bought a house,
You
right?
just bought a
So
house. So it's well worth the $500, and that's kind of an argument against it is, okay, you spend $500, maybe you have to do that 8, 9 times on 8, 9 houses. Maybe, and that's 4 or 5 grand versus the one time you need a brand new roof for 10, 15, $20,000. I mean, it's cost versus value, right? What value do you get out of that versus how much are you spending?
yep.
And it's a personal decision. But like, when you work with agents that kind of know the market and know what it takes to get accepted, these are things we're going to tell you. And it doesn't make sense to just keep offering on property after property after property with inspection contingencies when you keep losing. It doesn't make sense. And that is most likely why you're losing. I mean, there's obviously a million different factors that go into it. But generally speaking, that's one of the things that can be taken off the table by doing a pre-inspection. And again, it's not necessary. I mean, I'm under contract on 2 houses right now that just got normal inspections in Maryland. So it depends on the market. It depends on particular neighborhoods in the market and the time of year, and these are things that we know because we're out there every day. So listen to us, I guess is what I'm trying to say when we're talking about if you need a pre-inspection or not, if it will help the offer, or if it's just kind of like overkill. Sometimes it's overkill. On these 2 houses, it would have been overkill. On
Because
something
they've
like
been
Falls
on the
Church right
market
now,
long
it's
enough,
absolutely
maybe.
necessary,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah, if it's going to be a popular house, it's priced well, it's in a good condition, in a good neighborhood, and there's going to be a deadline set. Most of the time we do a pre-inspection is like, if the house comes on the market and they want to hold it through the weekend so they get as much attraction as possible, and then offers are due Monday. We're gonna get in there, Friday, Saturday, or Sunday, one of those days before the deadline,
deadline. That's a
and
good point.
that home inspection out, a pre-inspection. So when we go and write the offer, we can just eliminate it. And
That's good.
this is like, is advanced real estate related stuff, talking about if others are doing pre-inspections and they're still putting in offers, does that mean, should I take that in consideration and be like, well, listen, they did it and they're still putting an offer, like, so what's the threshold?
Yeah.
So there are those. I've had clients that did that too. They're like, well, they had 3 pre-inspections and then everybody put in an offer.
Yeah,
Why would
three
I waste my
offers.
money on one? It's
Yeah.
like, true, I guess, in a way. I see what you're saying. But
Yeah.
that's something you're gonna have to decide.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a valid strategy, but you have to be comfortable with it because
Yeah.
yes, 3 pre-inspections, but you didn't see any of those reports, and you're assuming that those 3 people have the same threshold for
Exactly.
fixes and breakage that you do. Would I do it? Probably. But that's the kind of, I guess, risk tolerance I have. If 3 other people had pre-inspections, and still made offers, I'd be like, "Okay, that's good enough for me." Would my wife do it? No. So
Yeah, same
that's
yeah, same with us.
that's
Yeah.
very much a conversation you have. And then again, like you said, that's more advanced strategizing, I guess. But yeah, pre-inspection is a real thing, and it's a necessary thing in certain neighborhoods, not necessarily in all neighborhoods. It was absolutely necessary last year. Will it be again? Probably. Now that it's a thing to stay, I think. And I think you made a really good point. Deadlines are the key. If there's no deadline, there's no reason to do a pre-inspection because you just make an offer and you can get countered, you can do different things. But if they're like, hey, this house went on the market Friday, we're reviewing all offers on Monday, you better get in there and get a pre-inspection and try to put in as few contingencies as possible. I think that covers it. What do you think? Anything
Yeah,
else on
I think that's
pre-inspection?
good. And I will say that it's not uncommon to do multiple pre-inspections and before you get your house.
Correct.
I had clients do. I had one client. I think they did 5 pre-inspections
Right.
before they finally won an offer, and we were being competitive the whole time. Maybe on the first one we weren't. They weren't fully at bat in the game. They were, but by the fourth and fifth one, we were very competitive, and we finally won. Obviously, the last one we did. We
Yeah.
we weren't still putting in offers and doing pre-inspections on houses after we were out of contract, but
Good idea.
it's not uncommon. Like, you might spend a few $1,000s on before you get a house. But like Tim alluded to earlier, was uh it's better to spend a couple $1,000s up front knowing what you're getting into than getting into something sight unseen, and next thing you know you have $50,000 in repairs that you didn't know about, or
Right.
anything like
Yeah.
that.
100%. Yeah. So hope that's helpful. Pre-inspection, it's a thing. Talk to us about it. If you're in a competitive market, we're happy to walk you through the details. This has been our first installment of tips and hacks, and I think it went swimmingly. I think we'll do it again in about 4 weeks. What do you
Swimmingly.
think? Yeah, swimmingly. That's
That
right.
was
I
the
said it.
that's a nice word.
That's right.
Word of the day.
Vocab.
I'm going to use
Swimmingly.
that a few times today.
There you go. Good. I'll allow it. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Please share this with friends. Please give us a call. Let us know how we can help. We like to bring you valuable content and some jokes and some flickering lights and alien, I don't know, invasion. They're not invading. They're just messing with your lights.
You never
But
know.
we try to keep it entertaining and somewhat useful. So if it is, please leave comments. Please do other stuff that makes people find us. Give us thumbs up. Share it with a friend or two, your mom, your dad, whatever. And until next week, I'm Tim Robinson, Bryant Naylor, Stateside Weekly Market Update. We'll talk to you next week.
Thanks, everybody.